Hi everybody, so today I want to do something a little bit different. I'm going to tell you a story, and it's a true story. And then after my story, I'm going to tell you a couple of my favorite legends. Now, the story I want to tell you is how I was first introduced to acupuncture points. I used to study Shaolin Kung Fu, and during my studies of Shaolin Kung Fu, we were taught a sword form. And the way that the sword forms were presented to us is that they would give us the movement of the sword form in a poetic verse. And then after that poetic verse, there would be a number. So, for example, we would have something like, Flying Tiger comes out of the cave, Ren 15. Sweep the grass and look for the snake, Gallbladder 40. And what this was the poetic verse would explain to you the movement that you were doing, and then the number is the area of the body that you were aiming for with the sword. So, as I went on to learn these sword forms and learn these acupuncture points, I started learning how the acupuncture points were used to heal, their functions and how they were put together, and from there, I went on to study Chinese medicine. And some of my favorite legends from my study of Shaolin Kung Fu are of Damo. Damo is who we refer to as the patron saint of Shaolin Kung Fu. Damo was a Indian monk who came from India. And it is said that upon his master's deathbed, his master instructed him to travel to China to spread his form of Buddhism, which was Chan Buddhism. It's the type of form of Buddhism that the Shaolin monks practice. In Japan, it's known as Zen Buddhism. Now, he was of South Indian or heritage, which would probably, we think he was a Brahmin. And so he traveled to China, and you'll see pictures of Damo, and they depict him with these big bushy eyebrows and this very intense glaring stare. He was a very intense looking individual, and it's said that when he traveled to China, he crossed the Yangtze River on a reed. And so, if you look up pictures of Damo, you'll see him on a reed with holding his staff crossing the river. On his way to the Shaolin Temple, he crossed the river on the reed, and then when he arrived at the temple, he didn't enter the temple. He found a cave that was across from the temple. And he went up and sat in this cave and meditated for 9 years. Now, when he was meditating, it's said that one day he fell asleep. And he was so upset with himself for falling asleep during his meditation that he proceeded to cut his own eyelids off. And when his eyelids hit the ground, the first green tea leaves in China sprouted from the ground where his eyelids fell. And that's where green tea came from. Another legend of Damo is that one day, when he was up in his cave meditating, a Shaolin monk who had learned that, hey, there's this Indian sage up in this cave, and this Shaolin monk was seeking enlightenment. So he went up to the cave and he asked Damo to accept him as one of his disciples. And Damo said, no, I'm not accepting any students. And the monk begged him. He wanted to be his disciple. He wanted to learn his form of Buddhism from him. And so Damo said, okay, well, when the snow turns red, then and only then will I accept you as my disciple. So to show his devotion, this Shaolin monk cut his own arm off. And when he cut his own arm off, in turn, the blood turned the snow red, and Damo accepted him as his disciple. Now, it's said that because of this Shaolin monk's devotion to learning the teachings from Damo, that when you see Shaolin monks salute and greet each other, they salute and greet each other with one hand to show their respect for their fellow monk who cut his own arm off. Now, when Damo did eventually come into the temple to teach, he found that the Shaolin monks in the temple were in very poor condition. They could not sit for very long periods of time and sit there to learn his teachings. They were falling asleep. They were weak, both mentally and physically. So Damo, being they believe he was of royal heritage, royal lineage, an aristocrat in India, he would have been taught a form of self-defense, which in turn became martial arts. From his teachings in India that he had been trained in, he went on to develop these 49 exercises that he taught the Shaolin monks to strengthen their physical and mental ability to be able to sit there and learn his teachings. These 49 exercises are now known as the Muscle Tendon Change Classics. It was similar to a form of yoga and what we now know as Tai Chi and Qigong. The Tai Chi strengthened the physical body, and the Qigong practices strengthen the internal alchemy. It's a form of breathing exercises and meditation. So that's the story of where these classic exercises came from that eventually morphed their way into what we now know today as Shaolin Kung Fu. So these are some of my favorites. There are many, many more of Shaolin legends. So I hope you enjoyed my little storytelling session. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all your notifications so you don't miss any of my uploads. If you have any questions, you can contact me at gregcarrollacupuncture.com. You can find me on Facebook at Greg Carroll Acupuncture. And as always, thank you for all of your support, and I hope to see you soon.